What's up guys, my name is Ace, and I got to play some Modern Warfare 2 as well as Warzone 2 at the Call of Duty NEXT event today. Big thank you to Activision for flying me out, putting me up at a hotel so I could attend this event and play the game. And I just thought I'd throw together my very early initial impressions. This is the pre-beta impressions. I will of course update these as time goes on. I've only had a couple hours of hands-on time with the game. I'm sure some of these opinions will change over time, and I'm sure I'm gonna form new ones as well, but I've had a lot of people asking me what I think about Modern Warfare 2, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, I may make a separate video for Warzone 2 tomorrow just because I feel like that requires a whole video on its own, but today we're just focusing on the Modern Warfare 2 side of things. Now, just a quick note about the gameplay in the background. My recording settings weren't flawless. I'm not on my home setup there, so it might not be quite as crystal clear as you'd normally expect from me, but that's more so just due to the fact that I was on a very unfamiliar setup. And let's dive into this, and we'll start it off with the good, the stuff I like about Modern Warfare 2 based on my initial play session. The first thing that I'm really happy to report, the maps are great. The 6v6 maps I'm actually very happy with. This was my biggest complaint, or at least one of my biggest complaints with Modern Warfare 2019. I'm so relieved to say that I actually liked every map that I played, for 6v6 at least, in Modern Warfare 2. I feel like they found a very nice happy middle ground between overly complex and overly simplistic 3-lane design. And another thing I noticed with these maps is the color palettes are great. This is not normally what we see from Infinity Ward. Typically you see a lot more grays and browns. We've actually got some color on these maps, and that's one of the big things that I liked about my play session today. As for the next thing, this is the gunplay, and the gunplay is very similar to Modern Warfare 2019, which isn't a bad thing by any means. There's great gunplay in that game, great gunplay in this game. Overall, I really like the gunfights I was getting into. Additionally, the gunsmith, based on what I've seen so far, keeping in mind this was a limited build, I'm liking the way they've organized the gunsmith. I'm glad that they've pivoted and scrapped some of the things that they showed us early on, like attachment sliders to adjust certain attachments. We don't have that anymore. It's much more of a basic gunsmith from Modern Warfare 2019, but with some twists to it. And I do like the innovations that they've made there, at least so far. Now, unfortunately, in this build of the game at least, we didn't have access to the firing range, but that has been confirmed for launch. And another thing I'm hoping we see for launch is the advanced stats on weapons, because that wasn't available in the build that we played today. We can only see those stat bars. Now, additionally, another thing I really like is the streaks. They did exactly what I was hoping they would do here. Instead of requiring you to use a perk to get score streaks, it's now just a toggle. You just go to that score streak menu. If you want score streaks, you can use score streaks. If you want kill streaks, you can use kill streaks. And I think this is a great compromise. I think it was kind of silly that you had to run a perk just to get score streaks in Modern Warfare 2019. And on a similar note there, talking about the streaks themselves, the ones that I've at least used, which keep in mind, obviously I haven't earned every streak in the game, they seem pretty good. They seem like they're fun to use. Obviously, we're gonna need some more gameplay time to get a good feel for all of them, but so far, so good. After that, I love the fact that they brought in both dolphin diving as well as sliding, and at least on controller, it seemed fairly intuitive and seamless. Essentially, the way it works is your normal slide button, you now tap it if you want to slide, or hold it if you want to dolphin dive, and I managed to pick up on that very seamlessly. It was super intuitive, and I really like the fact that if I need to dive out of a situation, I can do that. If I need to slide out of a situation, I can do that as well. And then finally, for my list of the really good things that caught my eye, the swimming. I do like the swimming mechanics based on my limited experience with it so far. It doesn't seem like swimming is going to be all that prevalent in 6v6, but it is in Ground War as well as Warzone 2. And the swimming mechanics do feel quite good. Now, I'm not too sure about the gunplay in the water yet. That's something I need more experience with, but at least just traversing the map through swimming, it feels great. So there we go, those are the main things that stood out to me that I really liked about my playtime with Modern Warfare 2 today. Now let's get into the things that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, the things that I didn't particularly like today. Of course, this section is going to be longer, and that's just because this tends to require more explanation. The first thing is the perk system. This is totally different from any other Call of Duty game, but the way this works is you have the first tier of perks here, and you choose 2 of these. These will be active immediately when you load up into the game. And then on top of that, you choose 2 more perks that are in 2 different tiers. And with these, you earn these as the match progresses. Now, I still don't know if this is purely time-based or if you're really going off and getting a lot of score, maybe you charge these up faster. I'm not too sure. But I should mention, it doesn't seem to matter if you die or anything. It's not like Specialist in that sense. It just sort of charges up throughout the course of a match. And therefore, you earn these other perks later on in the match. You don't have them in the beginning. Like Ghost, for instance, it's impossible to have Ghost right at the beginning of a match. you have to be in that match for a while. And honestly, I just don't really like how this is structured. I kind of miss the more simplistic, choose your perks, and those are your perks. This is one of those areas where I feel like they were trying to reinvent the wheel and fix something that wasn't broken. As for the next thing that I didn't particularly like with my play session today, although I do need to get more playtime with my setup in a nice quiet environment with my own headset, but this is the footstep audio and the fact that there is once again no dead silence or ninja or footstep dampening perk. There's only a limited use field upgrade. Now, I will say, I do think the footstep audio is a little bit better than Modern Warfare 2019, especially with the occlusion. So hearing people through walls, it wasn't quite as loud and clear as we saw in Modern Warfare, but it was still fairly noticeable. Actually, some of the streaks that I got today were purely based on footstep audio. Like, I didn't need to have any map awareness whatsoever. I could just hear them coming and pre-aim or pre-fire them. And it honestly kind of felt cheap getting those kills. Now, of course, at this event, it's full of people that are content creators and streamers. We tend to be more aggressive and rush, but I am a little concerned to see what happens with this when we get it in the hands of the average player out there. I'm a bit worried we're going to see a lot of people sitting in corners just listening for footsteps. Additionally, they once again don't have a traditional mini-map where if you fire an unsilenced gun, you show up as a red dot for enemy players. And I just feel like that's one area where it would help with the flow of the matches so much. There were so many times throughout this event where I just didn't know where to go. And part of that, of course, will come with map knowledge and spawn knowledge over time. But I always find it's nice to have those red dots popping up just to give you a little bit of direction throughout the match, especially when you get it in the hands of casual players. I do notice with a traditional minimap, there tends to be a bit more movement around the map. People feel like they have a sense of direction, and that just helps with the flow of things. And I worry that this non-traditional minimap is just going to cause a lot of confusion and people scared to move around because they don't know what's going on around the map. Next up, another thing that I really didn't like with this build, and this got me killed quite a few times throughout my play session today, this is the fact that they have staged reloads now, and they've completely eliminated any potential of canceling a reload. If you start a reload, you have to complete it, end of story. So if you accidentally hit that reload button right before somebody's coming after you, you're screwed, you're gonna die. Or maybe you think you can reload, but then you start hearing some footsteps. You hear somebody approach. Again, too bad. You're screwed. You're gonna die. There's nothing you can do about that. You just have to sit there and wait for your character to try to finish that reload. And I do find that to be very frustrating, and I feel like it takes away from the skill gap a little bit as well. If you have the reaction time to be able to cancel that reload, and you still have the bullets in the mag, you should be able to use them, in my opinion. Now, these stage reloads I think would work just fine for some other games out there, but when you look at the more fast-paced nature that you tend to see in Call of Duty, I was really missing that reload cancel. Now, on a similar note, they've also eliminated the slide cancel. Now, perhaps somebody will figure out some kind of slide cancel technique in the future, but I tried playing around with a few different styles of slide canceling, and it just doesn't work. Sliding actually felt kinda useless. Dolphin diving was way more effective, as well as jump shotting into gunfights. And don't get me wrong, I'm totally fine with the removal of slide canceling. The problem with this is I didn't really see any compensation for that removal. So faster sprint out times, for instance, or better aim down sight stray speeds. As far as I could feel in the build that we played, those values seemed very similar to Modern Warfare 2019. And as a result, I do feel like this slowed down the gameplay a decent amount. I know part of it is just having to drop a habit. Of course, there's going to be a transition period, and maybe over time, this complaint will sort of fade away for me. But I was definitely feeling like I was being held back a little bit in some areas with the removal of slide cancel. And honestly, that's pretty much it as far as the things that I didn't really like with my play session today. Now, one big thing that I just need more time with, I can't really comment on in today's video, but it is very important, this is the spawn design. We simply didn't have nearly enough time to play today to get any sort of a gauge of what the spawns were like, and therefore, give me a bit of time, I'll share my opinion on it maybe after the first or maybe even second weekend of the beta. It's just too soon for that sort of feedback. I need more playtime with it. And that pretty much covers it for my initial impressions of the game. Overall, I think I'm definitely going to like this game quite a bit more than Modern Warfare 2019. I really wasn't a fan of the 6v6 experience in that game, and the improved map design alone is going to have such a massive difference in my enjoyment of this game. Now, having said that, I of course do have a good handful of gripes, and I do hope to see some of the devs take our feedback into account. Once you guys get your hands on it as well, I'm sure you're going to agree with many of the things I laid out in today's video. At the end of the day, I think this is going to be a generally good Call of Duty game, especially if they could listen to some of the feedback at least and make some improvements. I don't know if I really see it becoming like my favorite Call of Duty game of all time, but I think it'll at least be a good one. Unfortunately, I think one of the big things that will not be changing, or is highly unlikely to be changing much, is going to be the perk system. I think that's one thing I'm going to be hung up on for a while at least, but I guess time will tell when it comes to that one. And this is where I want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. Based on what you've seen so far with the Modern Warfare 2 gameplay, or if you're watching this a bit down the road after you've got some beta playtime, what are you thinking about this game? Do you think it's going to be a good year of multiplayer for Modern Warfare 2, or not so much? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.